Okay, today I'm going to take apart the Taxc Neo. From it was brand new, out of the box. There's been mechanical noise when it's used. Sort of a whirring, burning type noise. Not particularly bad, but I know it's not right. I've got a friend who's got one and it's super smooth, super quiet. This has always just had a noise. I've been in touch with Taxc, who have been very helpful. As I work as a maintenance engineer, industrial automation, I've offered to take it apart to try and find out what's wrong with it. Taxc have sent me a pulling tool, which I'm going to use today. And I've already had it apart, so I'll get into it and I'll show you what I find's wrong. So, quickly take the freewheel off. It's just by this nut. This holds the freewheel body and the cassette. Could take the cassette off first, but don't really need to. Pull that off. It's a freewheel body. This actually has a bearing in it, which goes on here. Behind it, it's a sleeve, which keeps it in the right position. I'll take that off. I've already taken 3 screws off to make it quicker. And this pulling tool from Taxc fits lovely over that. What we're going to do is pull this disc off. This is the main disc. It turns with the bike, with the pedaling. The disc is held on by 2 bearings. Inside here, the main bearing is this 25mm shaft, and the secondary bearing on the outside of the shaft, 15mm hole, and that's the same bearing that is inside here. So this should be quite difficult to get off. 2 bearings should be tight on the shaft, and you should have had to use a 24mm spanner. But I realised straight away that screwing in this withdrawal bolt, that I was actually able to pull it off without any tool, which just didn't seem right straight away. The reason why it's even this difficult to come off, as you'll see when I take it apart, inside the disc there's a series of permanent magnets, and these magnets are trying to hold it on to the electronic magnets inside. If I had a spanner on this, it turns incredibly easy. The moment this is pulling the 2 bearings off the shaft. It should be difficult, but it's actually not. Effectively, the bolt's pushed in, pull this off. And that comes off easy. So inside you can see it's all nice and clean, looks good, looks well made, very strong, nothing wrong with it. So inside, the main bearing, which is this one, it takes the most of the load, and that goes on to this collar, thicker shaft. There's a secondary bearing in at the front, which is on this 15mm shaft. Between the 2 of them, that should hold it on. But what I find is happening is, I take a measurement of the bearing. It's just about spot on 25mm. If I measure the shaft, it's a bit difficult, but I can get it. and I've done this a few times and got it as accurate as I can. Let's get into it. Okay, I've measured a number of times, and what I'm finding is the shaft is actually showing up at 24.88, 0.86. So really, the shaft is too small. If you're looking closely, where the main bearing is inside, it's hard to see possibly with this camera, but the inner race of the bearing has actually been slipping on the shaft, and this just shouldn't happen. The inner race of the bearing needs to be locked on there, otherwise that's just going to create friction, that's going to slip. So instead of the ball bearings doing the work, it's slipping on the shaft. The outer shaft should be 15 mil. The aim is measured, we're coming in about 14.95. So it's a bit less as well. So this can best be demonstrated by, I've actually borrowed two bearings exactly the same size as what's used from our engineering store and work. I put the 15 mil bearing on. This should be difficult to slip on, and it's actually very easy, and there's a little bit of rocking. The 25 mil bearing, which is the main load carrying bearing, it's good size, heavy duty bearing. But put it on, far too easy. This should be difficult to get on. You almost should have to push it on with a tool, and it rocks. It's difficult to see with this camera, but it rocks in the shaft. You see the movement isn't in the ball bearing. It's the bearing itself is brand new, and it's really quite tough. That movement is on the shaft. And what's happening is, as it's actually going round on these magnets, creating the load, the whole disc is actually vibrating on this bearing, and that's what's producing the noise. Furthermore, if you actually look inside the bearing, again difficult to see with this camera, but I can actually see on the bearing there's like little wear marks where it has actually been shaking on the shaft, and pretty much each place where there's a magnet, these are the permanent magnets, which are quite substantial, all the way around, there's actually a tiny little mark on the inside of the bearing. I think over time, when I've been using it, it's been rattling. Very, very small, but enough, and that's what's making the noise. So the only thing at the moment that's stopping that inner race from moving, there's an O-ring at the very end in here, and we could have put an extra O-ring on it to grab the inner race of the bearing, but it's not really enough. If it had been a tighter fit on the shaft, perhaps more like the 15 mil bearing, which is still too loose, 0.05. I was going to use this type of industrial bearing lock that effectively glues the inner race to the shaft. Widely used in industry, it comes in different strengths. This is a medium strength which could have been pulled off. Some of the harder strengths will hold it better, but it takes heat to get it back off again. So if it had to be in a tighter fit, I was going to use this, which I'm sure would have fixed it. And this is good for 0.01 of a millimeter. I'm measuring the 25mm bearing at more than that, so I'm reluctant to use it. And considering this is a new trainer, I think I'll need to arrange a replacement. If this had been a year old, 2 year old, if you're looking at this and you've got a noise, this would probably fix it. But again, with it being a new unit, I don't want to use it. So that's what I found wrong with mine. Basically, this main shaft had just been undercut for the two bearings, which is a bit of a shame because the rest of it looks so well made. Hope that's been some assistance.